Well, hello there, magic people, the fair internets. It is Love Beer Radio with a bunch of people because we're doing a brewery episode, so it's fucking awesome. I'm Matt from Massive Beers and a whole bunch of shit. How about you? You're what, Joe from what?
Where am I from?
I don't know. Remind everybody. Say it one more time.
Joe from NEPA Beer.
There it is. Because I don't want to leave you out like our last couple of reviews where I was just glossing over everything. Yeah. And then today we're doing.
You know where they can find my stuff. It's fine. I understand.
We're doing another brewery-centric episode. A brewery-centric episode of beers that I've never had, nor Joe, so take that with a grain of salt, but it is what it is. But we're joined by Swill Mill Brewing, which is Kirk Space, Howard Saltzman, and the absent John Price. What's going on, guys?
What's going on? How much? How you doing?
Kirk Space would be the one who looks like he's going to a Halo tournament.
These are actually Halo custom headphones. I'm glad you called that out.
Howard Saltzman is the one who's not going to Halo tournament. But yeah, what's going on, guys? How you doing?
We're doing good.
Yeah. And for those that listen on iTunes and you can't see anything, so that joke wasn't nearly as funny. But yeah, so before we get into the brewery stuff, let's talk about stuff. Well, how was your week, Joe? Let's do that whole thing.
Pretty good. I'm going up this week. I'm going up to see a brewery in New York.
Which one?
The word interview was never exchanged in any of the emails that I've been sending, so I don't know exactly what to expect. I think I'm just kind of going and checking it out for right now. But
okay.
Potential for a job.
And what brewery is that? Or would you rather not say?
This is Old Saratoga in Saratoga Springs, New York.
Okay. Never heard of them. That doesn't mean much, though.
Same here.
Yeah. What do they make?
And
don't say beer, asshole.
Fuck. Honestly, I haven't been on their website, which I probably should do before Wednesday.
Hey, guys, I'm offering for a job. Screw what kind of beer you make?
Hey, I don't know what the fuck you make. Give me a job.
You guys make beer.
That works, right? Hold on, I'm Googling.
So there's Saratoga, New York. What the fuck is Saratoga? I should know that, actually.
It's up around Albany.
Okay, so that's not too far.
No.
Okay, so you're going up there. For those who don't know or never watched, Joe just graduated from brewery school in Niagara College in New York, so he's looking for a job. So if you have a job, please let Joe know.
They actually have some pretty neat stuff on tap.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it's currently on tap, but these are beers that they make. Yeah, coffee IPA, coffee pumpkin ale, coconut IPA.
So they're heavily adjunct.
Belgian black IPA. Yeah.
That doesn't suck.
Mendocino beers. Oh, did they do the... Hold on. Have you ever heard of, like, Mendocino Brewing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mendocino Brewing out of California.
I don't know if they contract or if they're, like... They got a... Kingfish... Oh, they must do some contracting. Kingfisher Premium Pilsner.
Wait, they have Mendocino, like out of California, Mendocino?
Yeah. It's on their website, Mendocino. It goes, the first list is Saratoga beers. Beers we brew, so they have to contract. The first list is Saratoga beers, and I'm assuming it's all of the beers they make. Then the next list is Mendocino beers. That's Eye of the Hawk, Red Tail Ale, Blue Heron Pale Ale, Imperial Stout, barley wine.
Really?
And then the last one is Kingfisher beer. So
I've heard of all of them, but
premium lager.
Mendocino's a pretty big. I mean, I don't want to say big brewery, but pretty well-respected brewery out of the West. That's weird they would do it here. Maybe they're just doing it show on the East Coast anyway. That'll be fun. I mean, not like you said. Was this the brewery we were talking about the other day?
The one where the guy's like, I don't know if I would move for this job.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, granted.
Like I'm going up just to see it.
Yeah, I mean, granted, like it might not be for you, but just to get up there and get some experience, fucking like dealing with dealing with the brewery and stuff like that. So that'll be fun. What else?
Yeah.
What else did you do? Anything fun?
Last night we had a going away party for my sister. She's studying abroad in London for this semester, so we had a little party for her. And I was not hungover. I was hungover for a little bit this morning, and now I'm fine, which is why I'm drinking beer and not my gallon of water like I did the last time that I was hungover on the show. But yeah, I was bartender last night, so I was running around. That's why I'm mostly tired now.
Oh, good for you, buddy.
Yeah.
Let's see. How about you guys? How was your week? You do anything fun or anything fancy?
Not really, man. I'm a bum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me
Nothing wrong with
too,
that.
man. Me too. I'm totally am. For me, I went to New York and I did a bunch of New York brewery shit, which is actually pretty fucking funny because I just said I'm a bum too, which I totally usually am, but it was my birthday and my awesome fucking girlfriend decided to take me for my birthday to New York. So I stayed in Manhattan for 4 days. And I got to go to every good beer bar and only one brewery, oddly enough. I went to the other half, which was fun. But, yeah, I got to drink a bunch of beers and do a whole bunch of beer-related shit that was pretty fucking fantastic. So it's probably one of the more active weeks I've had beer-wise in a while. Instead of letting other people kind of find good beer for me, I actually fucking went out and did it myself for one fucking time in my life. So yay for me.
There you go, getting out.
Getting out and about. Yeah, so there we go. So let's get into this shit. Swill Mill Brewing. First off, where's that name come from? What's that all about?
So the name, when I started homebrewing like 3 years ago, maybe more, I was just joking around with my dad, and he's like, "Oh, you're making beer now, huh?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot. I've been doing it a couple months." I was like, "If I ever take off," I was like, "What do you think would be a good brewery name?" He's like, "How about Swill Mill Brewing?" I was like, fuck it, let's go with it.
So
it sounded cool, and I was like, "Yeah, it's got a little jingle to it." So
Dad brought the name to the table, is what you're saying?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, why? Well, do you have a reasoning behind why he called it that? You know what I mean? Like, because honestly, like the first thing that comes into anybody's brain when they think of liquor, whether it be beer or booze, and they think of swill, they think of shit. Like, just swill means like the shittiest shit of the fucking body. So, like, you're basically like, it's not the most horrifying name, I guess you would say. But does he have a reasoning behind it, or you just popped
Not
out of his
really.
mouth?
It just kind of it just came off the tongue on a quip, and I was like, hey, it's got a jingle, so we'll use it.
And so name out of the way. When did you guys? I assume you're all homebrewers that kind of just homebrewed through some form or fashion, and then ended up hanging out with each other at some point. Is that pretty much the way it worked, or?
Well, not quite.
Okay.
I started as a homebrewer by myself, and Walshy from Whiskey Hill actually got me into brewing.
Okay.
So I did it for a year and a half, and ended up making good beer. People loved the beer, and all my friends wanted to drink it, and people were calling for parties for kegs for their cookouts, and I actually made the beer.
Very modest start. Is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did all the beer for my sister's wedding, and that's all the beer they had. So nice. I was like, what, maybe I should take this somewhere. So I had a guy originally who was a partner with me, and for reasons that we just won't talk about, we had to part ways, and so a lot of my other friends, I knew John Price, had a history of brewing, and I went to him and asked him if he wanted to partner up and join the Swill Mill team, aka me, and if he wanted to go with it, and he's like, yeah, absolutely, and I knew and I was a friend of his, and I never brewed with him before, but I knew he had the past history of brewing, and Howard over here, Howard I was just friends with, who's big in the beer community, loves beer, knows a lot about craft beer, and Howard could sell 12 kegs at an AA meeting. That's Howard. So I was like, Howard could sell our beer to anybody. Like, and he was hanging around on brew days and hanging out with us, and I talked to John. I said, what do you think about adding Howard on? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. So we partnered up 3 ways, and that's who we are.
So from that part where you said, let's start off from when you separated from the unnamed ex-partner. From there till now, how long is that?
We originally signed our LLC with the first partner in 2013, December.
Okay. And so you're September 2013. So you're talking about a year and a half. What is that? A year and two and a half. No, yeah, almost. I'm math.
It was December 2013 to 2 years and a month.
Okay, 2 years and a month. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And then so you're apparently you did your LLC. Did you file for your paperwork yet for like everything?
Yeah.
So you're done.
Our TTB application was submitted October. So they sent us back our first denial letter within 2 weeks.
Why'd you get denied?
Because a date was in the wrong spot.
Yeah, buddy.
So
Government.
I mean, there was a date, and it was stupid grammatical errors. And in Scranton, we had to go in front of the zoning board to get a variance to be able to brew. We're in an industrial zoned area, but brewery wasn't covered, so we had to get a variance. So we went through that whole nonsense with the city, and we got approved for our variance. And apparently, the TTB also requires a variance because it says in the TTB code that you cannot have a brewery attached to a residence or part of a residence, which it isn't. It's a detached building from a residence, but it's still in an industrial zone. TTB also required our own separate variance, which they said was no problem, and they sent us like a mock guideline of how to just fix that.
Okay.
So we fixed the grammatical errors, and it was actually I was in Florida at the time when it came back, and John called me and said, this came back, it's no big deal, we're getting it fixed and we're mailing it back out tomorrow. So that was in November that it was already resubmitted, so we're still hanging now waiting.
So like what do you have? Just basically have some kind of do you have like what is it like you live on the same land as the building, so they gave you shit over that?
Yeah.
And now, did you have to find a whole new location, or is there some kind of special form to where you, or some way to word it, or some way to do it, and that you're like, okay, that's separate from this, and you're okay with it?
They said it's okay. Like it's a detached garage. We rebuilt a two-car garage into our brewery, and
okay.
They were okay with that, and they said, just because it's on the property of a residence, and we already see that you got your variance from the city, they attached a mock copy of their version of the variance, just to fill in the blanks. They said it's perfectly okay. We just need you to fill out this certain piece of paperwork.
So you basically got an exception from the local government to kind of not necessarily rezone that area, but basically say, hey, this is going to be this, and then they basically gave you kind of like a pass on it, being like, okay, it's zoned differently in this little way that you can be okay with doing it there.
Scranton, fun fact: Scranton hasn't had a brewery since pre-Prohibition.
Okay.
So they had nothing in any of the zoning ordinances to deal with a brewery. So they had manufacture of beverages, which would fall under light industrial. But nobody on the zoning board could figure out whether or not manufacture of beverages included alcoholic beverages. So we needed to go and get a zoning variance through the city of Scranton because they kind of thought that it was going to be okay, but we didn't need them coming back in 2 years and saying that we didn't qualify for light industrial and shutting us down. So we just went and did the.
Yeah, you want to cross your T's and dot your I's. That way it doesn't make more headaches. And no, just off topic real quick. Howard, where are you from? Because you said Scranton instead of Scranton, so I'm really curious.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because I have
it was an intelligible word instead of just a word.
Well, there's a couple two or three of us, and we're getting a brewery together, and
that sounds better. You talk that for the rest of the episode.
I've spent a few years out of Scranton, and it's one of those things that I was born and raised here. And I have a running joke that if anyone can catch me not drunk, stone cold sober, saying Scran, that I'll buy him a beer, because I purposely try really, really hard. Where are you from? I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania, and then I extend my pinky.
Oh,
But yeah. So, but no, I'm from here. I grew up in Providence, right by North Junior High, and spent most of my childhood there, and I've spent a couple years in the Philly area, and then I just came back about a year ago. I spent 3 years in Boise, Idaho.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's awesome out there, man.
I actually don't even know. I'm just being an asshole.
No, it's cool.
So you do that. You're getting all your shit together. Where are you? Like, obviously you want to make beer, and you're primed and ready to make beer, but you also have to get your shit together. Like, where are you guys right now? Like, I understand you're waiting on what's going on, but like, when you get all your shit together and shit is ready to go, is it like literally step on the gas, or is it more like you have more shit to put together or get everything done to make beer, or is it more just like, hey, you have to have a certain progression of stuff to go along in order for you guys to do stuff?
Yeah, I mean, and we're kind of, I mean, we've been slowed down right now because TTB told us it could be up to 160 days before we get any sort of answer. You know, so we're in no rush by any means. Like, we're not trying to rush this and jump it and, you know, catch ourselves in a shit mess, and, you know, we're taking our time. But where we're at right now with the brewery itself as a building, we got, I mean, it cost us a lot of money to get all the plumbing run. You know, we got all that done over the summer.
Yeah.
You know, all our utilities were put in. So right now where we're at, we just need to finish drywall and build our fermentation room, and then just order our grain and hops and just start brewing.
Okay. That shit aside, let's get to a little bit of beer. What do you guys make?
Well, we make a lot of beers, but we're only, I figure, what, 2 or 3 beers we're going to start with.
Start with 2 or 3.
Our flagship beer is called Raging Lawnmower. It's a Belgian white. And the story behind Raging Lawnmower, back before I was big into craft, you know, I was a Blue Moon drinker, which I know is sad.
You were a Blue Moon drinker?
See, that's the thing. That's totally not sad. Do you know what I mean?
It's not sad at all.
Yeah, anybody who gives it, like, I actually don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, who gives a fuck? Like, airs away, man. Like, fucking, you got in a beer and whatever. Who gives a fuck? You got here somehow. Who gives a fuck how you got here? As long as you didn't suck 37 dicks through the parking lot, I'm cool with it.
Right?
You didn't do that, right?
No, I did not do that.
It was only 36.
And anybody out there who sucked 37 dicks through the parking lot, it was a clerk's joke. You suck all the dicks you want. Anyway.
But yeah, I mean, I was a Blue Moon drinker, and I wanted to try and recreate my own Blue Moon, you know. So I focused real heavy on, and I mean, I started extract the way most home brewers do, you know. But I think I did maybe 4 extract batches before I made the jump to all grain. And so I was just mainly focusing on that Belgian white, and I brewed the shit out of it, you know, over and over and over again until I finally nailed it. And I'd take it to all the cookouts, and all my buddies would try, and they loved it, and everybody was going crazy over it. Like, this is better than Blue Moon. You know, I'd stop, I'd go over to my buddy Kevin's house, and he'd be having a cookout. And he, you know, he liked Hoegaarden and Blue Moon here and there. And I was like, dude, I want to do a blind taste test with you. He's like, all right, you know, so I'd take a bottle of my Raging Lawnmower, and I'd pick up a bottle of Blue Moon and Hoegaarden, and I would do blind taste tests with him. And he thought my beer was the Blue Moon, and, you know, he thought it was the best. And I was like, well, no, I was like, that's mine, you know, like, that's not the Blue Moon. He's like, no shit, and he literally dumped the rest of the Blue Moon and Hoegaarden off his deck and just continued to just drink Raging Lawnmower. And I was like, awesome, you know, so they'd want cases of it, you know, for their parties or kegs or whatever. So once I nailed that down, then I decided I was going to tackle IPAs. And for the longest time, IPAs were my arch nemesis, like my Achilles heel, full blown, like either too hot, you know, too bitter or whatever, not enough hops, you know. So I finally, you know, nailed IPAs down. And so our 2 beers that we're probably going to start with are Raging Lawnmower, which is the Belgian white, and IP Hena, which is an APA joke, and as our IPA.
It's a great name.
Yeah, that's Howard's name right there.
See, the guy who says Scranton
yeah.
comes up with IPA, or no? Drink a couple 2 trees.
Drink 2 Tritos Henas.
That's the tagline on the bottle.
Yeah.
Trick a couple 2-3.
Yeah, where do you get these up the island?
Yeah, available up the island.
This here or that there, you know.
Down valley, up valley.
And I guess my question was like the question I had wasn't necessarily what you make. Glad that I know, but it was more like is there a specific style that you want to do, or you just don't give a fuck? You just make whatever.
We make stouts, porters. You know, we've dabbled in some fancy flavored stuff, and I mean, I still got 2 sours sitting. Definitely not dabbling into any lagers yet because I haven't even attempted lagers, and I don't want to be honest with you. And you know, everybody kind of feels the same way. Like lagers, I love lagers, but to brew them, I don't think that I can't. I just don't want to. You know, like
I think more of what he was asking, and I could be wrong, but so we're basically going to start with 2 beers, pretty much, you know, for lack of a better term, shelf, the obviously Raging Lawnmower and IPA, and then from there expand the line, probably a stout, a porter, fancy other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like you need to keep money. That's you know what I mean. Like if you're gonna make something, you know what I mean. You're talking about a Belgian like wheat beer or wit beer or whatever, and you have an IPA. Those are gonna be easy to sell to local bars and get sixtels out there or whatever. And I'm assuming that's your business plan to go forth with. If you're building a brewery in a 2-story garage, I could be wrong, but I assume there's not going to be much of a tap room there. Maybe like a bench and a little shelf if people want to hang out, and that's pretty much it. I could be wrong.
We're not having any inside sales.
Exactly. So that's so you're going to be going through bar sales, which you should do. There's a lot of places out there that like try to have a place and market their beers in a certain way, but just make good beer, get it out there. People like it, so you're going to focus on that. So when you aren't making, northeastern Pennsylvania euphemism beers or fucking wit beers, like what do you make like homebrew wise? You still obviously you're not making beer at a bigger scale because of what you're going through, but I assume you're still homebrewing in some form or fashion on the side.
Honestly, we haven't brewed probably since the fall. Because, you know, with the temperature changing, fermenting became an issue because we didn't have, you know, our fermenting room done.
We were digging holes in August.
Yeah.
So
okay. You know, like
we didn't.
I mean,
we had a backyard full of pits in August, so we were trying to get the water and everything in there. So it became a big pain in the ass. We messed around. Kirk's wanted to do a Moscow Mule inspired beer.
Yeah.
So we were working on that. We've been working on, you know, basically dicking around on a few things, but until we're 100% up and in there and have everything situated, and since we have that, you know, it's 5% possibility, but still it's a possibility that TTB comes back and says the garage is not suitable, and then we have to go find somewhere else. So we've been somewhat low key in the last couple of months, just kind of waiting, fingers crossed. Waiting for that to come back so we can start, you know, finish up the garage and officially turn it into a brewery because we were full steam ahead, and then, you know, we got the maybe you can't use this, and then we kind of put the brakes on.
How confident are you that you're going to be able to get it? Like, did they give you enough guidance to be like, okay, I think I got everything perfect, I'm good to go, or are you just kind of like...
We're pretty confident that, you know, I mean, within... The fact that they sent us the rejection within less than the first month since we submitted it, you know, they were quick to catch it and said, you know, here's what's wrong, just fix it, and that's it, you know. And we did that, and we resubmitted it, and now it's been 2 months. So we feel like, you know, with their quick response from the jump, they caught our mistakes and said fix them, and we did that. And now we're over 2 months, and we figure like now we're just in the waiting pool.
Yeah.
You know, they took it, they looked at it and approved it and said, okay, everything looks like it's in order. We'll move it on to the next guy, you know, for approval. And like I said, they told us it could be anywhere up to 160 days. So,
and as you said earlier about money, that's part of it. I mean, if we're banking a little bit better right now than we are, obviously we just go full steam ahead and not give a flying shit if they said yes or no. We just go somewhere else. But since we're trying to not waste money, that's where we're kind of in the the standstill right now.
No, it makes sense. What kind of let's put it, and Joe would be able to speak to this more than me, but like what kind of setup do you guys have? Like how are you guys setting up going into brewing?
Right now we have the 55-gallon Blickmans, and we're purchasing the 3-barrel upgrades. It's an attachment that goes on top of the kettle to convert it into a 3-barrel system. Which is, I mean, I contacted Stout Tanks to get a quote on a 3-barrel electric system, and it was like $40,000. And I was like, no way, like no way. I'm looking on all the homebrew forums and eBay and Craigslist to see anybody who had used 3-barrel stuff. Breaker got their stuff on eBay or wherever they got it, and then John was like, dude, he's like, Blickman offers this 3-barrel update, and it's only $2,100. And I was like, well, $2,100 is a lot better than $40,000, So,
Yeah,
but the question was too, like, we could, like, right now we have 4 110-gallon fermenters that we're going to start with, and we're going to use 2 of them so we could secondary 2 and 2. So if we were a little worried about spending quite a bit of money on a 3-barrel system and not selling any beer, So, we still could brew on the 55 gallons alone, but we'd have to brew 2-3 times to fill 1 fermenter, So I'm a lot more comfortable with $2,100 for the 3-barrel upgrade on the Blickmans to brew once and fill a fermenter,
Now, working on a larger scale like that, have you ever done that, or you just kind of just go into it and be like, cross your fingers and hope for the best, or have you gone out there and like reached out to any breweries with a larger scale and kind of like dabbled with them?
I sat with Mark and Chris from Breaker. We're trying to follow Breaker's model because they nailed it on the head, and those guys are awesome, and we love the path they're going. So I sat down with them numerous times and just pick their brain a little bit, just to see how things work and how their 3-barrel system worked, and they let me come in the back with them and look at their system and look it over. But no, I haven't brewed on a large scale. We've brewed 45, 50 gallons on our current system. I understand the math and science behind brewing on a larger scale, but I'm going to take probably a month. Once we get approved and our license and everything ready to go, I'm going to take a good month and play with everything, so I'm comfortable. I'm going to brew 2 times. I'll brew 2 batches or 3 batches in a week and let them sit and make sure, I'm comfortable, with that system before we say, let's open the doors and just sell kegs.
Yeah, like as much as you know the math, it's still a little butthole pucker, and when you're throwing a bunch of that in a fucking, you know what I mean? Like you're just like, okay, here we go, baby. It's time
scary,
to
man. There's Walshy from Whiskey Hill, man. He's kind of been like my mentor through all this. Like he got me into brewing, and he's a little more advanced in the equipment wise than I am. So he's been I call him. I'm on the phone with him almost every day talking about stuff, and he's excited too because he sees me getting all this stuff in, so he gets to come up and help me play with it and figure out how all this stuff works. So we're like, butterfly valves don't exist on homebrew stuff. Like, let's figure out how all this stuff works. So and when we had our fermenters delivered, like the frickin' tractor trailer shows up on the street with these fermenters. I'm like, oh my god, I gotta outfit these things now. So.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, like Joe, like going from homebrewing to the school, what was the biggest jolt in your system when you went up there? Joe?
Sorry, repeat that.
When you when you went up to Niagara, like what was the biggest adjustment you had going from home, like general homebrewing, to working on a larger system? Was it just learning the math on scaling?
That's
or
a
was
lot
it
of
just,
it.
Yeah.
A lot of it is the scaling up. Then also like the equipment, like every system kind of, they could all be the same from like the same company, but for some friggin' reason they all have like, this one works if you have the valve in like this position, and then it might not work as well if it's in that same position on another system for some friggin' reason. You're like, who knows why? But just like figuring out quirks of different equipment was another kind of challenge. Yeah.
Fair enough. So you guys have your paperwork going down. You have your system's pretty much in place. Do you still have to buy some stuff, or are you pretty much ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, we just have to buy the
Couple two tree things.
a couple 2-treat things. The 3-barrel snap-on tiers for the brew kettle. We have to weld a new brew stand, and just outfit the fermenters.
Okay, so you guys are basically, I mean, that's shit. Once you know what you're doing, you're gonna need some time. It'll be time before you actually get what you need to get into place. So once you get the ball rolling, it's pretty much okay. Do this, and you're ready to go.
Yeah,
right.
We think we're about 45 days out from when we get our license.
Okay. And do you have what's your plan after that? Do you actually have you reached out to any kind of bars or whatever, try to get any kind of selling on, or are you just going to produce some beer and try to sell your product and be like, hey, here's our beer, put it on, see how it works, or do you have any kind of I don't know.
We're a Green Ridge Brewery. We have a couple bars that we can throw rocks at that have agreed to carry our beer. People that have had Kirk's homebrew samples, that have had some of our stuff when we were screwing around this summer, and they've said that they'll give us a shot, and that's part of Kirk spending the month or so once we have all the equipment in to get it dialed in, because we don't want to get in there and have, hey, the stuff that you brewed before tasted great, and this stuff tastes like bilge water, so we're not going to carry anymore. So we wanted to spend some time with the equipment, but we're probably going to start off at about five bars in the Throw a Rock from the brewery area, North Scranton and Green Ridge.
I mean, we have those bars at hand, to sell our beer. Just through, we're friends with bars owners.
Yeah.
Howard's great in marketing and a people person. We're friends with Lindo. So we have the bars available to sell our beer. My concern, as brewing is concerned, I don't want to start. I'm saying 3 to 5 bars, because the biggest thing that boggles my mind is logistics. From when do I brew, when do I collect kegs, when do I wash kegs, when do I fill kegs, as opposed to what's out there. So yeah. I want to start with maybe 3 bars and have enough kegs on hand to start, and then if they run out, we have kegs. And I have to get a feel for the logistics first, because I don't ever want to be at a point where a bar calls me and I don't have beer on hand because I didn't know when to brew it. So I think starting small is a great idea, and feeling it out and
like you said, I mean, Breaker took it very slow, but they took it slow, and it's a great business model. Not to put yourself out there. I mean, perfect example. And I mean, even though they're coming back, 3 Guys at a Beer did it totally wrong. You know what I mean? I've never been a big fan of their beer in general, but I mean, just from
I would agree. I'm friends with those guys, and I would agree with that.
And I've never been a fan of their beer, but that aside, taste of beer aside, the way they went around about their business model was totally wrong. It was all marketing as opposed to trying to get beer out there instead of having a steady base beneath them and making shit the way it needs to be done, and then slowly putting their shit out there. So to go the Breaker model and actually grow almost within, you know what I mean? Just not only you might not grow as fast, but you'll grow longer. It's right. A marathon. It's not a race. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, but I mean, I would imagine as being a Scranton brewery, that it has something. It probably has to be something you could hang your hat on. People, beer or bars would probably want to put your beer on just because you're Scranton, born, bred, and made.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right now, up here, local is the big thing right now. Buy local, buy local, buy local. And I'm going to give a plug here, but our buddies who are right next door to the brewery, they just opened the Meat Locker.
The Meat Locker!
Which is what?
It's a butcher shop. They're custom butchers, and, they make their own kielbasa. They do, custom cuts. And
they smoke cheeses. They're delicious.
They're awesome. And,
You had me at cheese and meat.
Cheese
Right,
and meat.
you know, but they're a local butcher shop, and he's got old people coming in that are like, oh my God, we haven't had a tri-tip in years, and he knew exactly what it was. So all these people are coming in, they're like, it's a local thing, and people are all about.
He's making porchetta hoagies, by the way. Porchetta hoagie.
I mean, come on now. You're giving me the vapors.
Do you guys actually know what like the? Do you guys know what the last brewery in Scranton was? Like, before it closed?
You said that pre-prohibition one. Do you actually know who it was, or you just know that it was before then?
I know.
I swore there was one in the 80s, I thought.
There
might have been a restaurant that they homebrewed in the back of. I don't know.
No, there hasn't been a commercial. All of the beer in the area was coming out of Stag/Lion in Wilkes-Barre. I honestly, off the top of my head, I don't remember. I didn't know there was going to be a quiz. So I'm sorry I left my crib.
Be prepared, motherfucker.
I was prepared about Scranton and knowing that the brewery's been a really long time. And
wait, I thought marketing was Latin for be prepared.
Marketing is Latin for dazzle them with bullshit.
Oh.
Smile a lot and wave.
Yeah. Really? Oh man, the Queen of England is the best marketer I've ever seen.
Hey.
Yeah.
So the brewery. So you guys have your paperwork coming in. The brewery's ready to go. You're pretty much just at a holding pattern right now. You're just waiting, ready to do your shit, antsy your pantsy, doing all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
So let's a reverse course for a bit and go back to. We'll go Kirk first. You said you had Blue Moon and you started homebrewing. Is that how you got into beer? Like, is that like if you're going to talk about like having a beer that you're like I understand like the Belgian wit thing is cool, and I actually love a good Belgian wit. I'd take that over a lot of beers or whatever. But was there a point where you started to get a little bit more nerdy? Like you had a beer and you're like, okay, now I know what the fuck's going on.
I was into craft beer, pretty heavily, but my go-to beer at the bar was always Blue Moon. So
yeah,
I just kind of gauged it as, what do I always drink is what I want to make, And granted, I still had a cellar and I loved craft beer, but I figured a good starting point would be what I like to drink, So I didn't have to go to the store. I mean, we all have cellars, but if I just want to, for lack of a better word, get hammered, just instead of going to the store, well, I just made 5 gallons of it for $14, So I just got 2 cases of beer for $14. And
a lot of people are like, oh, there's it's all about the who flourished the pinky earlier? Was that you, fucking Howard, flourishing the pinky on the fucking Scranton?
That's true. To flourish his pinky.
Yeah,
and we'll get into the pinkies. There's story.
But sometimes
jokes.
you missing half a pinky? What's going on right now?
Yeah, it's bent.
There it is. Oh, somebody, yeah. What do you dislocate the fuck out of that motherfucker? Or?
I had 3 tendon repair surgeries on my pinker.
On your pinker.
On your
pinker.
There you go. So your first smoked beer should be called Pinker on Your Stinker. You got into. I don't even know what to say now. So you got into beer that way. Like, did you guys know each other growing up, or no. Did Howard just in the beer that much? He started hanging out and doing beer shit.
Howard was not friends with Howard or John growing up. I've been friends with Howard and John for probably the same amount, maybe 3 years, roughly. Howard was originally friends with my original partner, and I met Howard that way. Still am, yeah. So when Howard came back from Idaho, our buddy was like, yeah, you got to meet Howard. Howard's a great guy. He's big into beer, and he was just out in Idaho for how many years or whatever. You got to meet Howard, and I met Howard, and Howard and I clicked. We're friends, and we clicked on the beer level. And Howard, knew a lot about beer and about the beer scene, but he didn't know a lot about brewing, and he wanted me to teach him, how to brew. So I was like, well, I could teach you how to brew. I was like, I mean, the best way would be for me to show you it all grain. And he's like, no, I want to start, from basics, So, we got out the old homebrew pot, and we went to Plaza Beverage and grabbed some extracts, and we brewed a porter on the stove in the kitchen because he wanted to understand the progression from, bare bones starting with extracts and then moving his way up. And he wrote the recipes. I told him, I said, do some recipe research. I said, write up a recipe. I'll look at it and see if I think, and we'll go with it. We'll make some tweaks here and there. And we did, which was a good idea because I thought it was a great learning tool for him to make a beer extract and it turned out good, and then I could show him how to do the conversion of making the exact same beer from extract, doing it all grain.
Yeah.
So that was a good learning technique for him.
Well, let's speak to that though, Howard. Like, how did you get into beer then? Like, not even just like early, like progression wise. You like had a good beer somewhere, or you just started to hang out in a certain place. Like, how'd you get into good beer?
Well, as every 16-year-old kid in Scranton, I started drinking at bars when I was 16.
Of course.
And I'd like to thank Manly's, which is no longer open. But yeah, I started drinking, Rolling Rock, Yingling Lager, and I got to a point where I thought my great jump into good beer was Guinness. I just started crushing Guinness. I had a 3 to 5 year period where everything was Guinness. And I realized,
you smelled like rich mahogany at that point. You're like, yeah, motherfucker, I drink Guinness, son.
many leather-bound books, and my house smells of rich mahogany.
So you went from Guinness, and then what happened? What was the epiphany? You're like, holy shit.
Well, I after drinking all of that Guinness, and I figured out that what I liked, my palate, that there was stuff. Not that Guinness isn't a good beer, but my palate, I want to have something that curb stomps my palate. I love dark and roasty, and I found myself drinking a Yingling Porter, the celebrated Pottsville Porter, and then I ended up, drinking a Taddy Porter, and I found myself drinking more and more harder to find beers. I just kind of, anything I could find that was a stout or a porter, I would just buy it. And when I got to Idaho, it became really easy because the beer laws out there are ridiculously in favor of breweries and people. I mean, you can walk into a grocery store and buy a 6-pack up until 2 in the morning. There's no issue. So I had an opportunity when I was out there to just drink everything. I mean, I was drinking before that, but I had an opportunity. When you go out to Boise, Idaho, and like you said, when I said I would spend 3 years in Boise, and you were like, I'm sorry. Well, that's what most people think, including myself. I just, all I knew it was from the lyric from Lynyrd Skynyrd. It's 4 o'clock in Boise, Idaho. That's the only thing I knew about Boise, and I went there for 3 years, and they have 10 breweries. 4 or 5 of them have barrel-aged programs. They have bottle shops everywhere, doing tastings, and I got to experience a lot of that with real local beer. And when I got back to Scranton, I wanted there to be local beer here because, I mean, there's Breaker, and they're in Wilkes-Barre, but there's nothing in Scranton. And talking to Kirk, we got to the point where we wanted to be that option, that local beer. So that's how I got to where I am today.
Well, what was the bridge between Guinness to good beer, though? That's what I'm curious about. Like, was there like, okay, I drank this beer, or I started drinking these beers, or was it just straight up just experimentation? Like, you'd go into, a mix of 6 in fucking Idaho and just start picking shit off the shelves and just started drinking whatever. Basically, I'm asking, what fucking beers do you like besides the homebrew shit? Come on, motherfucker.
Oh, what beers I like now? Well,
not now, but back
like that.
Back then compared to now,
I can
progression.
I can say that
Didn't
Sammy.
AJ get you into craft?
Well, AJ and I had a lot of sit downs, yeah, and we would drink together. But as far as Sammy Claus. Big fan of Sammy Claus. Is he gonna pull a Sammy Claus out?
2010, son. I'm drinking that tonight. Santa Claus is one of my favorite beers of all time.
Oh, Santa Claus is great. Lindo cracked a 99 the other day with me.
Actually, I saw that. That was pre-Eggenberg days. That was when it was the foil top, like not the.
It had the star on the front. Yeah.
Well, they still have the star, but that was like before they switched breweries. Yeah, that's a great beer.
Yeah, but we were, and I found myself drinking some Sammy Claus and found myself, I don't know, as far as shelf stuff, like Yingling Porter, Yingling Black and Tan, Guinness. When I got out to Idaho, a lot of Deschutes. There's a lot of great beer in Boise, so shelf beer from Payette. 10 Barrel's out there too. They have a brewery out there, or a brew house out there. So yeah, 10 Barrel, Crooked Fence, Sockeye, some really good Boise breweries. I just tried some stuff, and there were people out there that were knowledgeable. So I mean, I was doing stuff on my own, just kind of like you said, mix of six, grabbing what I could, trying a bunch of stuff. It was really hard, 10 years ago, because your only way that you could really mix beers were if you knew somebody that worked at a distributor and was willing to break a.
Yeah.
I had guys that would work there, and we'd talk, and I would get out of work at Friday night at 8 o'clock, and I'd walk over at 8:30. They close at 9, and we would, we'd all go a quarter on, a case of Bell's Expedition Stout, so we could all have a little bit, rather than six packs didn't exist. So,
fair enough. Nice. So, what? Let's do a little favorite shit here. Since we're talking about beer, commercial beer. Like, if you guys are gonna give your top fives, and I know I'm putting you on the spot, so don't feel like you have to fucking give me. If you fuck up, who gives a fuck? Right now, commercial-wise, what are your top 5 favorite beers?
So we're talking non-craft, essentially?
You can do whatever. You could give me 5 whales, 5 fucking macros.
Yeah.
You can give me 5 whatever, just not your own beers. No home brew from yourself.
Okay.
Well,
you can give me Black Label, Schlitz, Peels. You know what I mean? I don't care.
Hams.
Yeah.
Hams.
Go fuck Hams in his ass.
Well, I mean, I'll give you 2 right now. I mean, Yingling Lager is my go-to now. Like, it was Blue Moon for a long time, but I mean, I'm a lager guy. I've always been. So I'm gonna say Yingling and Stiegl Radler are 2 of my go-tos. Craft-wise, man, I'd probably say for drinking beer. I mean, I don't want to be cliche and say heady because I still have a half a case from April in my cellar, but
you're an idiot.
Yeah, I know.
Dude, it doesn't age that bad. I'm telling you right now.
I know it doesn't.
It really doesn't.
But yeah, I don't mean, and I'll say this. Like, I think, I used to be huge in craft beer and the scene, and what breweries were coming out with what, and I feel like this is a common thing with brewers and breweries. Like, I've just been, since the brewery kind of picked it up a step, like, all my focus has gone towards the brewery and not what was happening in the craft beer world, And I find that a lot, like, if I go on vacation and I stop at a brewery and I'm talking to a brewer and I mention a beer from Cigar City or somewhere, and they're like, oh, no, never heard of it, And it's like, it seems to be a common thing. Like, once you're involved as a brewer in a brewery, like, you'll kind of lose touch to what's going on around you in the craft beer world, So I mean, I didn't lose complete touch, but I felt like I've kind of stepped back from where I used to be, No,
it makes sense. But at the same time, you have to. I mean, admittedly, you're still into it because when you went to Florida, you're like, hey, I went here and went there. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you give a shit, but it's a little bit harder to pay attention to the everyday fodder that comes with it. Like, I understand it totally. Like, I have friends that should probably seek help. Do you know what I mean? Like they just
Yeah.
they get in a car and they're just driving. They're like, oh, should we run it? Like I have friends that run it.
I think I know who you're talking about.
No. The thing is, you don't, because there's friends beyond that. Well, let's go friends to acquaintances. So lump them all in together. I have friends and acquaintances that like rent trucks to go up Vermont. You know what I mean? Like rent a flatbed and be like, yeah, what?
It's
you know
silly,
I mean?
man. Like me and Rob from Whiskey Hill, we went up to Vermont for 4 days, I believe it was. In April, we went up and we hit almost 20 breweries in Vermont, and we went on the heady hunt. We got Sip of Sunshine from Lawson's. We went to Fiddlehead and got a second fiddle, and that was in April. And I still have beer left. I still have Sip. I still have Lawson or second fiddle. I still have heady left. I still have stouts that I still have beer from April. Like I just go places and buy beer, and it sits, and not a lot of it, but like second fiddle and Sip are kind of shit now, but you get to that point where, like I said, with the brewery, it just became more priority. So, but I mean, for my top 5, I'm gonna go Yingling, Stiegl Radler, Perpetual IPA from Trogs because I love it. I absolutely love it. High Five IPA from Terrapin, and probably, I don't know, I'm going to call it there a 4 because, I've drank a lot of beer, and I love a lot of beer. But
4 works. You could drink doubles of one of the top 4, and then you're at 5. How about you, Howard?
Well, I would have to say, I would have to say Yingling Lager's got to take one of the spots. I'm from Northeast PA. I drink my fair share of it at the bar. Let's see. Sockeye Brewing out of Boise, Idaho, Dagger Falls IPA. An amazing beer. While you guys were talking, I had this if I could only take 5 beers on an island. If I was stuck in an island, what 5 beers would I want with me? So Yingling Lager, Dagger Falls IPA from Sockeye, Stiegl Radler. Sammy, you would totally take. I would have Sammy Claus all over the place. And so that's 4 out of 5, and then probably.
It's tough, man.
No, I haven't.
It's totally tough.
I was trying to do the shelf only, but I got my beer. Payette Brewing out of Boise, Idaho is 12 gauge bourbon barrel aged stout, and Kirk has had it. So I would take that with me.
Obscure shit none of us would ever have, guy.
No, man. I went go to Boise, Idaho, and drink the beer, guy. I mean, he's had it.
No, I'm busting, man. I get it, because it's probably that's the thing with beer. Memories, man. When you drink a good beer in good company with good people, it fucking implants memories, man. So when you're talking about your Boise beers, there's probably some kind of triggering mechanism when you drink that beer. It just, even though it's a great beer, it also has added impact because there was something that happened in your life, whether it be hanging with friends or whatever. The way it is, memory. Recollection when it comes to
that's why Yingling Lager's on the list, because I got my first 21-year-old behind the dumpster sloppy hand job.
Yeah, well, see, and I wish I was you, because Yingling Lager's on my shit list, because if I sip it, I have to immediately fall into fetal heartburn position. It's like drinking apple cider vinegar. The second I drink it, I'm dying. I'm oh my god, I gotta.
But it depends with Yingling. It depends what you drink it out of. Because Yingling tastes
bullshit, dude.
No way, man. No, it tastes different out of tap. It tastes different out of the can, and it tastes different out of the bottle.
I'm a Yingling tap guy, kegs all day. But I know what you mean about that. I don't know if you guys have ever had Narragansett Lager.
No, actually, I just had a couple of their beers.
No, never.
Base.
Their lager, delicious for the first hour, and then you're on the floor my angina, I'm burning, I'm burning. It's like lava. I went up to a Red Sox game with my friend Jeremy, And he's like, I'll have a Narragansett. They had it there, and I'm like, dude, no. He's like, why? I'm like, great beer. You're gonna be dying an hour from now. And he drank it, and like the 6th inning, he was rocking back and forth. And he's like, dude, I should have listened to you. Yeah, so I know what it is with that. I've never had that from Yingling Lager though. My problem with Yingling Lager is I have a glass in front of me, and then it's mysteriously empty 2 seconds later.
Yeah.
And then,
It's what I call an exponential beer, which is like you have one. It takes you about your first pint. It takes you about, I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to drink. Yeah. So let's say it takes 30 minutes to drink your first pint. Then your next pint takes you 15. Then the next pint takes you 7.5. The next pint takes you 3.5. And then it's like bang, 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 bang.
You're 14 beers in. You're like, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, every time you get one, it's half the time what it took the last one, the drink. It just exponentially gets faster and faster.
Oh, I'm on board on the exponential lager. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Joe, you take over for a bit. Ask some questions because I got to take a piss and all that fun stuff.
All right. Cool.
Not live. Don't take a piss.
I'll talk for a bit now.
So for ratings.
I'm gonna go more brewery, like brewing focus for you guys. Have you ever had a beer? I did this to Breaker as well, so don't feel like I'm singling you guys out. Have you ever had a beer where you thought it was going one way, and then it turned into something else, but it was still good? For example, I had an IPA that I was going to make. Came out a little too. It didn't ferment down as much as it should have. Still tasted like a pretty good red ale. Ever have any like?
Yeah. Our most recent porter adventure. Actually.
Yeah.
We
porch stand.
Yeah, porch stand.
You want me to go get porch stand?
No. Yeah, we
bring out the porch stand.
We attempted to make a porter, which was actually the porter that I taught Howard to make extract when he was first learning.
My first Fisher Price, my first recipe.
Yeah. So that was our first attempt making that beer all grain. Which the beer turned out fantastic. Turned out delicious
for a brown ale.
You know,
it's the greatest brown ale I've ever brewed.
You know,
just not roasty enough. Not the mouthfeel isn't there. I mean, you drink it and enjoy it, and be able to put down 5 or 6 or 7 of them and have a good time. Like it's not like a one and out beer. It's a good beer. And it's 5.32. It's somewhat sessionable, but it came out badass brown ale.
Yeah.
It just didn't come out. It didn't come out and we rewrote a recipe. I mean, when we get to the point where we're releasing a porter, we changed the recipe. We did some things. We tweaked some things, but we still have a recipe for a really badass brown ale.
Yeah,
which we're not calling a porter.
It almost seemed like,
it
kind of seemed like a trend there for a little bit because there were a couple of beers we made that were awesome if you called it something else.
Yeah.
I said, most of our core beers are going to be the intentions of being one thing, but they get messed up and they turn out to be something really awesome that you can call like a totally different style. But yeah, that has happened to us a couple times.
And it's part of experimenting. You have stuff down on paper, but you don't know what you have until you go and try to brew it.
No, I know exactly what you mean. Now, do you guys try to brew like exactly to style, or are you comfortable with taking some leeways?
BJCP style or
that's basically what I'm getting at.
No, I don't. Typically, the way I brew is, I know what I want to drink, and if it's that style, I just brew to knowing it to be that style. I don't try to follow BJCP guidelines by any means because I think they're a little wonky and they're a little too precise to be followed that accurately.
Yeah. We sat down. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we sat down the one night, and I was sitting there with the BJCP guidelines, and I'm reading guidelines off. Must be this. Must be this.
The new ones or the old ones? Let me.
Recently, I have them on my phone here
so
somewhere.
the ones that They updated. They sent like an update out. I don't know if you had it on like an app form. I don't know if the app is
Yeah,
updated.
it may
but
not
they
be.
have like a new set of guidelines out.
So it was recently. It was within the last year, but we were sitting there reading the guidelines, and the people that were there with me were guessing what the beer was based on the guidelines, and based you know based on reading the guidelines, it's like these beers could be 6 different things.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you read the BJCP guidelines for porter and then read the BJCP like for a Baltic porter and then read them for a stout and then it's almost the exact same verbiage. It's just like the color or how that goes.
It's like like just obscure things are different between some of the styles.
It's kind of nonsensical to a point. Like I don't know. To me, if I want a porter, I'm gonna make it a porter and call it a porter. But granted, it might turn out to be a brown ale.
But that's the thing, though. That's the thing. The BJCP guidelines are bullshit. They're for 30 years ago when people didn't know shit. That's the only reason they exist.
Yep.
They're an antiquated notion. They're fucking 8-track tapes. But there are breweries that make a stout and say it's a stout and it's not. You know what I mean? It's kind of like I've said this before. Like there was like an old fucking Supreme Court justice that said, I can't tell you, I can't define what pornography is, but I know it when I see it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's the same thing. It's like when you see it. And there's like a couple there's a semi-local brewery to us that I reviewed one of their beers and it was an imperial stout. And they said, well, it's not a stout. You know what I mean? But that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it not being a stout. Even though it says it on the label, it's not a stout. It's a really well-made beer, and I enjoy it. But it's just not a stout. And the person got flipped out. But it wasn't a stout. As much as you just wasn't. Do you know what I mean? It just I'm not saying I'm not being BJCP in that moment. I'm not going it's not a stout, so now this sucks ass. Go fuck yourself. Die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just saying, it's not a stout, but I still really enjoy it, and it's really close, so who gives a fuck? It's really nice.
Yeah, but there are a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of people, but there are people who think that if you brew a beer, and, if it was up to me, every single one of our beers would just say beer. But, drink this beer because it's delicious.
Is it The Simpsons? What the fuck is going on?
Duff.
The biggest problem with it, I'm sure you guys are going to agree with me. There's 3 beers that have that fine line of differentiating between what they are. And it's stout, porter, and brown ale. They all could be each other. And it's like the brewery says it's a stout. Well, it must be a stout. Well, no. Joe over here is going to say it's a porter. Or Frank over here is going to say it's a brown ale.
This is a porter. No, it's a brown ale.
Who gives a shit? If it's a good beer, it's
African
a good
or
beer.
European?
Your microphone's starting to kick out, by the way.
Mine is?
Well, Kirk, your mic is starting to give away. Maybe it's just me, but I can barely hear you at this point.
Dude, aren't you doing raids on whatever game you're playing right now?
You're hoarding on WoW?
Can you hear it? Is it good?
He's playing League of Legends right now. You can't see him.
Yeah. No, what other equipment are you guys looking to eventually get? Are you gonna get yourself a bright tank or something like that?
Yeah, bright tank is on the list of something we're gonna get. Only because carbonating kegs individually is just a nightmare in my mind. Especially because of space. To carbonate so many kegs at once in the area that we have is just. It seems like a little too much and just not feasible or possible. Just too many manifolds in my mind. So
yeah,
a bright tank is on the list.
No, I've never asked this because we had a couple breweries on. We talked to Breaker, we talked to High Road, we talked to Whiskey Hill, and we talked to you guys. None of you guys have done the bottle conditioning. Is there a reason behind it?
Yeah, time.
That's it? Just time?
Time and man hours, man. I know most breweries, bottle. A lot of guys hand bottle, but you're bottling essentially off a keg anyway. You're not using priming sugar or any of that. That's homebrew stuff. But the time it would take to, you know, bottle. I mean, and I know Three Guys in a Beard hand bottled for the longest time, and I just, in my mind, I was trying to understand, like, how many man hours were they giving up, you know, bottling so much beer, like pallets of beer, hand bottled, like
a lot.
Yeah, and I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, I wouldn't do that. Like, that's
Look, I want to be on a shelf at Wegmans, but I don't want to break my wrist in the process.
right. Like that's
you know,
it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And
I think what we're going kegs just so we can get out there, you know, so we can take a keg to a bar, and when we get to the point where we can expand and we can move out of this building, you know, then there's time for a bottling line, then there's time for a canning line.
And
I think we'd like to can more.
We'd rather can than bottle. I mean, granted, we might do, like, if we're doing a one-off or anything, like I'd do a bomber or, you know, a 750 bottle cork.
There's even like, I don't know, there's probably one that does it in the States, but at least in Canada I've heard of like mobile canning units that'll just.
They have one. They have one based in Jersey, and they actually would drive to this area. We already looked into that, to be honest. But
so if you guys were to do canning, you'd do that?
Yeah.
We might do that just in the beginning. We might do like a run.
Yeah, just, you know, I'd rather can than bottle, but yeah, you know, and the only reason is because of time and man hours and labor.
And I'm not one of those people, and Kirk isn't one of those people that, you know, goes by the old, oh, it tastes different because it's in a can. Well, you're drinking it out of a keg, which is a giant aluminum can. So, you know, stop.
But yeah, anyway,
cans are better anyway.
No, I mean, well,
they're impervious to light, man. Like
cans. I mean, it actually rang true fucking 40 years ago when cans when there's the no liners and they're made of fucking lead. You know what I mean? Like there was like, put it in this fucking lead can. Nowadays,
it'll be delicious.
No, you know what I mean? Like canning back in the day, it was like literally like dirt dumpster grade aluminum with a fucking beer inside of it, so you don't know what the fuck. Nowadays, it's a totally different thing. When you start seeing classic Belgians like fucking Delirium and Duvel and shit like that show up in cans, then you know, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
There's something to this.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, my favorite style cans. Like I love drinking beer, canned beer, you know, regardless. But my favorite style, I mean, I love 6 points. Like the Red Bull style cans, like the thinner. I love those.
Yeah.
And I love the Sly Fox 360 lids where the whole mouth opens up with a can.
Nebraska also does those.
I like those. I like the Sly Fox. No, is it Sly Fox or who is it? Anyway, yeah, the tiny little Red Bull cans kind of annoy me.
See, I like them, man. Resin. Oh my God.
Oh, I like the beer inside of it.
I just think it's more of the, like, I feel like
you feel like Andre the Giant with the with the Red Bull can. It's in your hand. You're like,
I'm not happy. Slam beer. You know, like it just.
I like the pounder can. Do you know what I mean? Because typically I'm sharing a beer with somebody, so it just makes sense.
If you've
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you've ever seen that, just to take away for a second, if you haven't ever seen the picture of Andre the Giant holding a 12-ounce can of beer, look it up, Google it up. It's amazing.
That's dude. Listen, I had a 4'10" girlfriend at one point. I know what you're talking about.
You know where that's going.
We're going to steer clear of that. Was it the same girl that I was?
Again, if it was, it still doesn't matter. If the girlfriend, it still matters with the guy. You know what I mean? You can have a 4'10" girlfriend and look like a fucking number 2 pencil. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. We're Eskimo brothers.
I don't know about that. Maybe Eskimo fucking third cousins. We'll have to consult Taco about that one. Yeah. So if you guys were to like lay out any kind of like I don't know, mission statement about your brewery, like if people wanted to know, let's do that now before we get too deep into whatever this is. Like that's what it would be called. Like what you guys are all about. where to find you, how to find you, the whole nine. Like, just lay it out there.
Okay. Well, we're available for your enjoyment on Facebook, Swill Mill Brewing Co. Let me make sure that that's right.
Yeah, I mean, we're on all the social media sites.
Yeah,
Less Instagram.
Yeah, we're not on Insta yet.
Why? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know.
Because I don't want Kirk taking pictures of his dick at 3 in the morning and putting it up on the Insta.
No, only from a social media standpoint, I find Instagram actually to be the best.
I agree with you.
Promotional point for beer. It's a visual standpoint. You know what I mean? Like beer is, it's look, smell, and taste. You know what I mean? So
we do have an Instagram. What I meant to say was, that's the only one that really isn't ever.
Right now, we're not doing it. There'll be pictures of me with the Swill Mill Brewing girls at bars at some point in the future, and I'll make sure that you see those. You can approve those first. But yeah, right now most of our social media stuff is Swill Mill Brewing on Facebook. Come give us a like. Check out the pictures of our giant ditch that was in the backyard. We put everything up. Whenever we're doing something, it's on the Facebook. Now that you called me out for not actively doing the Instagram, I'm going to have to do that now. Thanks a lot.
That's what I do.
More work for me.
That's what I do, baby.
And we haven't done any kind of thing with Untapped yet. We're on Untapped, and I give them $5 a month. I don't know why, but
just to see how many beers you drank in a week.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. How many of these beers did I drink? Let me see this graph. I need charts of my alcoholism. But yeah, as far as that goes, right now we're in the process of building the website, so there really isn't a website. But the Facebook is up and strong. You can, see us there for right now. Bing.
All right, so I just went onto your Facebook, and I saw I like I just liked your page on Facebook, and I saw the picture of your fermenters. I'm pretty sure I know the answer you're going to give.
Swill Mill Brewing Company.
Because of
why plastic?
There's your
Yes. Fair enough. Without that aside, how much how much cheaper was it to go plastic than stainless?
4 fermenters was $2,000. 1 fermenter was about $46. For stainless, a stainless fermenter was about $4,600, where we got 4 plastic for $2,000.
And a lot of the equipment that we're buying now is with the understanding that we're going to grow out of it. Unfortunately, we can't go from A to C. We have to have a middle ground, and in order for us to brew beer now, Kirk's going to be really careful with the plastic, aren't you, Kirk?
Yeah, I mean, if you're diligent and you don't score plastic, there's literally no difference.
I mean, look at Breaker; they're still using plastic fermenters,
Yeah.
And making tasty beer.
Yeah.
Shout out to Breaker.
And I know there's a lot of, and I knew that's the first thing you were going to ask. That's why I answered you before you even had the question out, because there's so much, like, if you go online and you're on homebrew forums or anything, or nano-brewery forums, like, that's probably the biggest argument is plastic fermenters versus stainless fermenters. And a lot of guys say beer doesn't taste any different, out of plastic. And
as long as you don't.
And then there's other guys who are saying you're nuts. Oh, you can taste it. And blah, blah,
well, as long
blah,
as you don't Brillo pad the inside of your plastic.
When I was in Canada, I went to a couple of breweries, and some of them used plastic liners for fermenters.
Really?
Yeah, like almost like instead of worrying about like actually like scoring and fucking up a fermenter, like you get these vacuum sealed fucking autoclaved fucking like liners that you just throw in a fermenter and have at it. You basically brewing beer in a bag or fermenting in a bag.
Yeah, giant Ziplocs.
Yeah, and honestly, it makes sense. Like it just like it would like from a cleanliness standpoint, from like just that point alone. Like if you get it from an environment that's totally sterile, you never have to worry about fucking cleaning again. I mean, of course, you still want to be clean, but yeah.
Well, that's. I mean, I never. Did they have stainless fermenters with plastic sleeves in them?
They actually use plastic drums, and then they had this system to where they'd basically line it with the bag, seal it, and then they go from there. Again, it was just a walkthrough. I saw it. I inquired about it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we use this, and that," and then we went on. So I didn't dig into it to be like, "Okay, this is who they use, what they use, how they do it." It was just like, it looks like a fucking Capri Sun thing going on here, and I'm like, okay. And I was like, it kind of makes sense, I think I forget who it was, Joe. I think it might have been was it Oasthouse? It was somebody else. I forget who it was.
Silversmith?
Grab one of the boys.
Brimstone?
I don't know. I forget who it was, but I saw it.
Yeah.
Unless I was going through DTs, but that's never happened. So
that's very possible when you were.
You have to
based on what I've heard about that weekend.
So, yeah, I actually don't know what else to ask you guys. You said one of your guys was going to show up. Who else is going to show up?
He should actually be here in 6 minutes.
Oh, I'm going to set a timer, motherfucker. So John Price,
John Price, you are on the clock. I'll send him a text.
No.
6 minutes, Slim Shady, you're on.
No, basically what I'm trying to say is right now I think the serious informational, as much as you want to take this seriously, the serious information portion of the show is over. We're just going to sit here and chat and just kind of have at it. If you guys out there have any questions, I know the whole fucking question thing is disabled below because fucking YouTube's sucks ass. But if you want to ask these guys any questions, you can hit us up on Facebook at Massive Beers, or you can hit us up on email at lovebeerradio@gmail.com, or Instagram, NEPA Beer Reviews on Instagram, Massive Beers on Instagram, all those places. If you guys have any questions for these guys, hit us up, and then we'll answer your questions. Anyway, what'd you just crack open there?
This is Howard. You brought that. I don't know.
This is a 2013 Crooked Fence Barrel-Aged Sins of Our Fathers.
So that's an Boise product, correct?
It is a Boise product.
What's that all about?
It's all about deliciousness.
I'll tell you what,
that's the end of it. There you go. It's delicious.
I wasn't surprised with your original reaction about Boise beer because I was very.
He said the exact same thing to me. I'm like, I'm coming back with a bunch of Boise beer, and he's like, why are you doing that? I'm like,
I honestly said it just to try to make a joke, but
I'll tell you what,
every
beer that he brought back from Idaho that I have had was phenomenal.
It's funny because
it's very good.
Everybody knows about Oregon and everybody knows about Portland and the Portland beer scene, and Boise's like baby Portland. They try to be Portland's little brother. Anything that Portland's doing, Boise's doing. Well, we have Voodoo Donuts. Well, we have Guru Donuts. And, we have all these different breweries doing this thing. Well, yeah, so do we. And it's, but they do their own thing, though, which is nice. It's not like trying to copy, but it's good beer. And, hey, what's this, Kevin? Reporting live from Gingerville. I'm Kirk Space.
One of our... Oh, nice.
By the way, I just want to let you know this portion of the program is brought to you by The Meat Locker. The Meat Locker, conveniently located at 1553 Albright Avenue in beautiful Scranton, Pennsylvania.
I better get a fucking sausage out of this shit.
There you go, Kevin.
If I don't get a sausage out of this, and one that I eat, not some kind of weird rapey thing.
Kevin can do both for you.
I'm all about it in my mouth, not my butthole, so I'm good.
Kevin with definitely
they're definitely worth the trip up here. Their kibasi is out of this world.
Get a porchetta hoagie.
Everything.
Porchetta. Literally, if somebody could make a porchetta pierogi, my life would be complete.
Kevin, you're listening right now. He's watching the thing. So, Kevin, if you could somehow make a porchetta pierogi,
I don't know how that hasn't happened yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That'll
Like
be at the brew pub.
infuse some kind of shit. I don't know, man.
Well, give us 5 years, it'll be at the brew pub. We'll have porchetta pierogies. We'll call them the massive beer porchetta pierogies.
There you go.
I mean, I would think you could either, mix the porchetta seasoning in with the potatoes,
or you can just stuff it with porchetta.
Stuff it with porchetta. That too.
Yeah. Yeah, just wrap that porchetta. Just take like a 5-pound porchetta and put it inside butter and potato and cheese inside a fucking some kind of pastry wrapping. I'm good.
Wait. By the way, Kevin from the Meat Locker.
And just be like this. Just be like, here's a pierogi.
Boom.
There you go.
Wait. I need to interrupt this with a special news bulletin. I'm getting reports that Kevin can indeed make that porchetta pierogi happen.
Then
we just changed the world.
My boner just moved a little. It's always been half alert. It just kind of like went this way a little bit. And I was like, yeah, baby. You're saying all the hot words, man. Pieroga. Not even porchetta. Pieroga. I don't even know what the fuck that means.
Yeah.
No one knows what that means.
It's science.
Good. 27 years. Science.
Yeah.
Man, like with back to brewery stuff. I mean, we're finding so far. I mean, the most expensive thing that people think like opening a brewery is a lot of money. Well, it is, but the biggest fucking expense was plumbing. out of everything, and that's brew system aside and brewing stuff, like plumbing, man, it's expensive. Like plumbing was probably our biggest obstacle for a long time.
We love, and we're gonna put we're the Scranton Brewery on our back, but you need to have, like, every time you get anything done in Scranton, somebody has to check it out and has to sign off on it. Like, you get a.
Well, yeah, you hire a contractor in Scranton. You have to apply to the city to get a sign to hang in your house that you got a contractor, right? Yeah. That's how you get a contractor. Yeah. Be like, we're getting a contractor. Here's a sign to get a contractor.
And this is legit. The only thing in Scranton you do not need a permit for is painting. That's the only thing you don't need a permit. Yeah, painting. That's it.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, if you had a large stainless steel container, you filled it with beer, you were painting the inside of that thing with beer.
I see where you're going.
I like your thoughts there.
I'm just painting the inside of this drum with beer.
This guy's on the board of directors. he's got thoughts.
But I mean, it's insane the amount of red tape there is with opening brewery. And when we talked to Breaker, I mean, those guys told me, like, it's a lot of red tape and it's a lot of bullshit. I mean, granted, they're Wilkes-Barre, you're Scranton, Well, it's insane. Like, the red tape. I mean, TTB alone, I mean, it took us so long to, get our TTB app put together. And John's fiance is an attorney, so, she helped us go through everything with a fine-tooth comb and make sure everything was, put together properly. And, it still got sent back denial because of a date and stupid shit. But
we didn't sign on a signature line that wasn't marked as a signature line.
Yeah, it's goofy stuff, and it cost $9 in postage to mail the TTB app. That's how big it was. It was huge. They want everything shy of your firstborn. It's insane. And granted, TTB is free to apply and get approved. It's the state that costs money. It's just to submit your application to PLCB is $700 plus an extra $100 if you want a Sunday sales permit, and then $30 for each background, or $10. For
and
each
we're not even selling beer. We don't have a location where we're selling out of, but just for us to sell, if a place, like, say, a bar ran out of beer on a Saturday and they called this Sunday morning, you need a Sunday sales permit just to show up with a keg.
Yeah.
So, it gets interesting, the additional tack-ons.
Yeah, and like I said, it's what it comes down to for us, just to hand in our PLCB application is $830. That's just to give your application to them. Once you're approved, it's $1,450 every year. So I mean, they're taking advantage of people with just the fees alone and filing fees.
It's got to make its money somehow.
But I mean, come on, $700 to turn in your
Well, I
application?
mean, like one of the most detrimental things that hopefully doesn't come to pass is the whole fucking nutritional value thing.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
yeah. Don't
I
get
mean,
us started on that.
If
Get
that
started
comes to
on that.
pass, well, it can't though. That's what I mean.
It's going to crush a lot of little guys if it does.
If it does come to pass, it'll be a certain level above. That's the thing. Like, if you go to a restaurant and you order a meal and you leave it with a container, there's no nutritional value on that bullshit. It's gonna have Wegmans has nutritional value on their shit because they're so huge. Like it's like I don't think they can do that. They wouldn't want to crush that much small business.
Actually, that's the thing, though.
Is it being lobbied by Anheuser-Busch?
That's the thing, though. I mean, big beer. It's roughly $600 a beer to get the nutritional value done, and it takes approximately
4 months. Yeah. And the turnover just doesn't make sense.
But the thing about it is that in the beginning, craft beer was only being served, like say for example, Swill Mill. We're at Waldo's. We're at the V Spot. There weren't craft breweries that were getting into your Red Robin's, Texas Roadhouse, the chains, TGI Fridays. Now they're receptive to local beer. Now you'll go into one of these places and they'll be selling Yingling and they'll be selling stuff. They're not selling just BMC, and it's now Yingling can cover the cost of $600 on lager, but every time we want to sell a beer to one of these chains, and that's what it is, it's a chain, and the problem is, what specifies a chain? Is it 2 different locations? Is it 10? Is it 50? Because I mean, you have places around here like the Tipsy Turtle. They have 3 different bars. Are they a chain?
Yeah.
Do I have to spend $600 to get them to carry my beer? So it's and being somebody, my full time until I get to quit that job and do beer full time. I'm in the restaurant industry right now, and they've been pushing that back for 5 years now, where I work for a chain pizza place, and they want, under the current laws of the menu boards, you have to have the calories for everything on your menu listed. Well, there's like 35,000 combinations for pizza. If you go in for a pepperoni and a ham, it's this. If you go in and get under the current guidelines, we would have to have a menu board that ran out into the street. So that's why they keep pushing it back on that. But hopefully some of that fight comes into the beer fight, because look, people drink beer. People drink beer. They don't want to know how many calories it is. I mean, unless they're drinking a light beer, then maybe they want to know how many calories it is. But if you're having a good meal with friends, I don't think you're really worried at the 150 calories that you're drinking and how many carbs are in it.
No, it makes sense. You know what I mean?
I think it is.
But here's the thing: the people that make those laws, they don't make sense. So that's the whole problem. It'll probably make sense in the end, but it'll probably be like a dumb fight till that happens.
But if you look at the turnaround, it's 3 to 4 months until it's approved. I mean, you have a fresh IPA and you're just sitting on it. By the time you get approved on all your crap, beer's not fresh anymore.
Well, the thing is you have to brew the fresh IPA.
Yeah, I know.
And then give the sample to them and have them run the sample, and then sell it to only non-chains, and then get approved, and then you can sell your next batch to chains. I mean, there's kind of ways around it, but I mean, $600 a beer. It's like, and then there's
how many breweries are going to have the same beer that fluctuates that 0.5 ABV every time they brew it? Because then essentially their calories are going to be different. Do they have to resubmit then? If you change the recipe if you change the recipe, do you have to go back to But,
not even change the recipe. There's fluctuations in fucking yield and fucking you know what I mean? Like you're so efficient on this one, you're not as efficient on this one. There can be that much of a fucking difference.
Yeah, you mash 1 degree off. I mean, you're gonna have a difference. It may not be much, but it's enough to change your ABV, maybe a 0.2 or 0.5%, and therefore you're gonna have different calorie changes.
Yep.
So every time you brew that beer, I mean, you better be 100% efficient to the point where you're hitting.
Which
that
no
same
brewery
ABV.
is.
No.
Like, no brewery is 100% efficient.
No, it's unheard of. It doesn't exist, and that's the thing. Like, it can't work. It's not going to work, and I hope there's people lobbying against it.
This really isn't going to bother a brewery like the Alchemist, where they have 3 beers, but it's gonna bother a brewery like Oscar Blues, which they're making a new specialty thing, or 21st Amendment. They're making a new beer like every 3 weeks.
Terrapin,
like they're always doing it. And the thing is like, I mean, if you have a beer, and then you have variants. Like, hey, we did this beer, and then we rested it on cocoa beans. Well, now it's a different beer, so now you have to spend another $600 for that.
Yeah.
Not that those one-off beers are going to probably end up at like TGI Fridays, but
Yeah.
It's.
I hope so, because when I go out on a Friday, I want to have a good beer. TGIF, baby. That's where I go.
The first restaurant Matt thinks of is TGI Fridays.
Oh, of course. It's my favorite. And so me and TGIF are BFFs. We're all about chilling with our good beers,
I remember when TGI Fridays first got Perpetual IPA on tap. I'm like, no fucking way. What? Like, really? But yeah, I mean, that's a common thing now in all these chain restaurants. They're starting to sell better beer.
And the one thing that's good for us,
and Anheuser-Busch hates it. They hate it.
That's another thing. Man. They're doing the thing where they're giving money back now if they have 99% of their.
Well, no, Anheuser-Busch at this point doesn't hate it. They don't, because they're buying so many breweries. They want craft beer to become huge, to where all the breweries they're buying become those breweries. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like what Howard was saying about the whole incentive program. That's all if you sell just AB InBev products. You get like millions of dollars just for selling Anheuser-Busch stuff. So like they tried to make good beer. Not that they didn't make good beer. I have zero qualms drinking shit beer on a golf course, doing whatever. I don't care. You know what I mean? But they tried to sneak in the back door. Now they're just buying breweries. And when you go to TGI Fridays or wherever it is, it's going to be your Lagunitas and your High Road, or not High Road, sorry, guys. Your fucking, what's the one out of California? They're, whatever. A bunch of smaller breweries they bought. That's what you're going to see, and you won't know any different. So.
Goose. 10 barrel.
But here's the thing: like, if Budweiser came out with a great beer, like the best beer you ever had, would you give a shit? Would you be like, I'm not drinking that? They're Bud. I wouldn't. I know I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't either. You know
what I mean?
I mean, a lot of their stuff, like Budweiser stuff, is not good. But I'm not going to stop drinking a brewery's beer because Anheuser bought them.
That's what I'm saying. Like, not even at the bottom. Let's say, like, Miller Coors came out with a fucking New England IPA that blew Treehouse Julius out of the water. Yeah. And it was readily available for $25 a fucking 30-pack in cans. I would buy that shit all day.
Yeah.
All day.
I would drink the shit out of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's not a matter of quantity or quality, or no, it's not quantity, it's quality. So like, you have like people that be like, "Fuck that place," but if that place actually made like top-notch, awesome shit,
yeah. And the thing is,
kill your cap and be like, yeah.
Well, you know, AB InBev isn't coming in and kicking, firing all the employees of these breweries. They're just now owned by InBev, you know. So these breweries are still making the same beer, and they're still making the same product.
Back to me being in Boise for the 3 years I was there. There's a 10-barrel brew pub in Boise, and when they found out that 10 barrels sold to InBev, people lost their damn minds. Like, I'm never going to drink another 10-barrel beer again. Da, 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 da. And the next day, the place was still packed. You know, there was still people in there drinking the beer. The beer didn't change. And, you know, but what happens is, it's not so much the beer. I mean, look, if I can get a tasty beer, I don't care really who makes it. But in the end, I don't want to go global economics in the middle of a beer chat, but if you buy beer from us, the money's going to stay in the Scranton Wilkes-Barre area, except for when Kirk goes and buys Filipino hookers, but but that might be later on.
I mean,
but
no.
but as far as the money goes, it's going to stay here, and that's more of my concern. Like I drink the shit out of 10 Barrel. They're Swill, not to be confused with us.
Yep.
Their Summer Radler thing, I crush the shit out of that with or without InBev. And the same thing with Goose. I mean, I'll still drink BCBS. It's a tasty beer. So
yeah, and I mean,
I said this, like we did an episode like talking about AB InBev and all those guys buying up smaller breweries. You heard a lot of outcry when Goose Island was bought or whatever it was, but after a while, there aren't enough hours in the day to complain about every brewery that AB InBev buys, because it's going to become a more common occurrence whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
Look, and as much as we bitch about it now, if some lawyer from InBev showed up here 5 years from now with a suitcase full of cash,
you better believe
we'd think about
if
it.
that number's right, then guess what?
Yeah.
As long as I can still give brewery tours.
Myself included.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all like to say that we wouldn't do it, but
look,
it's kind of hard when somebody's like, "We're going to give you this.
Here's a couple $100 million.
Yeah.
You have a 10-year no compete. Okay.
All right, I'm going to sit on an island for 10 years,
Yeah.
and I'll be back.
Yeah.
I mean,
Pay no attention to my new brewery, Mill Swill.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Exactly. And who was it? Was it Ballast Point that just got bought by Corona? Is that who it was? Ballast Point?
Ballast Point I don't know if they got bought out, but I think there was an investment.
Well, no, they got the Corona.
Yeah, by like a
I think
distribution
$1 billion.
network or something like that.
$1 billion for Ballast Point.
But they make great
Ballast
beer.
Point is good.
They make
I don't
great
think
beer.
they're $1 billion good.
No, but if somebody came to us and said, hey, like 10 years from now or 15 years from now and said, hey, guys, we'll give you $1 billion for your brewery. Sorry, but there isn't going to be a sit-down meeting between the three of us saying...
Yeah.
Well, there will be, but the sit-down meeting will be, what island are we going to first?
Yeah.
That'll be the sit-down
Yeah,
meeting.
really.
Somebody has me $333 million. I'm pretty good.
These companies, I mean, AB InBev and Corona and all that, but they have that money to fund, and they know every small guy has his price, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, there's some guys
they're
who've
still
been
going to love.
Look,
They're still
and
going to brew.
Here's the one thing I love about Yuengling, and they have tried to buy Yuengling out, and I mean BMC, has tried to buy Yuengling out for like the past 40 years. They keep coming to Pottsville with suitcases full of cash, and Dick Yuengling, thumbs up, Dick Yuengling, keeps telling them pound sand.
Yeah.
Because he knows what they'll do. They'll close the brewery, they'll take the recipe, and there'll be another Rolling Rock.
And I mean, I get it too. Yuengling's family owned, and it's been passed down and passed down and passed down. So I understand. Them saying pound sand. They're America's richest brewery right now.
America's oldest. They're pretty
richest.
Awesome.
They're on the Forbes list. AB InBev is not American owned anymore, so I could understand. They don't need to accept an offer. They do.
By the way, if there's a Yuengling daughter watching this and you think that I'm cute.
Yeah, totally. That goes both ways.
If there's two of them, just for the
one from what I know, my intel is there are 3 Yuengling daughters, and I'm pretty sure all 3 of them are married.
Well,
but
so you've done the research now.
I have. I've attempted to take the tour 15 times a day until I run into a Yuengling daughter and be like, "Hello, my name is Howard." You'll be screaming it later. But yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, but
he didn't hear any of that.
Every brewery has their price, man. Every
$1 million man.
If the guy with the suitcase of cash comes to the small guy with the right number, they're gonna take it regardless. Everybody's got their price. and I get it. I would. Speaking of, John Price is extremely late.
That was not 6 minutes.
No.
If you had over 6 minutes in the pool, you win. Congratulations.
If you had over 18 minutes, actually, in the pool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man, we're just hoping that, TTB comes back soon. I mean, we'd like to get up and running, hopefully mid-spring, the latest. But I mean, do you
know if there's like a minimum? There's like if there's like a quickest amount of time, or like they just gave you the like long term.
Yeah, they just said it could be anywhere up to 160 days was what they told us.
Okay.
So it's a half a year, man, almost, or it is.
So yeah, unfortunately, I think we're actually done here. John will have to wait. Was it John that we're waiting for? John Price.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait for
John Price
for next episode, because we're 2 hours in. This is about as long as we typically go. So yeah.
Except that one time we don't like to talk about it.
Well, when we open it up afterwards, it can last longer, but I can't do that tonight. So if you guys would like to stay on and chat further, you're more than welcome, but I am not.
I can't. I have to pick up Amanda from work in a little while. She's getting out early tonight.
Shout out to Amanda.
Yep, so. Amanda. Two A's, one D, and a M in the middle. So again, before we sign off, you guys give everybody your information. Swill Mill, where to find you, the whole nine.
Facebook.com, Swill Mill Brewing.
Same as Twitter, Swill Mill Brewing on Twitter.
On the twits. You can tweet us up.
There you go.
We are in the process of getting some fancy people to build us a fancy website that is currently not available.
If you want to call us, it's 570-500-BREW.
I did that.
Oh, wow. Phone numbers. That's serious. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Hopefully you guys can enjoy some of the beers from Swill Mill soon enough. Hopefully within the next, what do you say, springtime, maybe summer?
We'll make sure that you get some pre-release.
Well, I know I'm talking about the people out there. Like you're talking about like summer, springtime, summer.
6 months latest. 6 months.
Okay. 6 month latest, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. If you want to check those guys, you can at Swill Mill on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those fun places. You can check out me, Massive Beers, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Untapped, all that fun stuff. How about you, Joe?
You can find me at nepabeerreviews.squarespace.com. Also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at nepabeerreviews.
Yeah. So, another showdown. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Hopefully tune in next time, and hopefully you're enjoying some good beer right now and all that other stuff.
Prost.
Cheers.
Cheers.